Let's talk about Fox's impact this season with the San Antonio Spurs.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Monday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope you had a great weekend, relaxing weekend, holiday-filled weekend. You just enjoyed some time away. Back to work today. We'll help you get through it right here on Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You want to go check out FanDuel ASAP. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. More on that later. What are we talking about today? We're talking about De'Aaron Fox and his impact this season. We finally get a nice chunk, big sample size of what he can bring to the Spurs. Recall last season, it was cut short due to injury, but now we're starting to see what he brings to the team. We're going to see what the eye test tells us. What do we like from him when we just get away from the stats? And then we're going to get into some stats and try to play a game here. So the game is going to be, we cannot pick scoring. What other statistic that we'd like that Harper brings, or maybe something that's beyond the X's and O's. You know, it's Monday, right, everybody? And we'll know what that means. It's time to bring in Matt Guzman with Spurs on Sports Illustrated. He is on X at Matt G. ZMEN. You see him right there. Not rocking the cowboy hat today. I was a little disappointed about that. But Matt, nevertheless, welcome back. It is Monday, so that means a little chat with you. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, sorry to disappoint. My cowboy hat did not make the trip this time for the game. But, one of these days I'm going to have to show up on the screen just having it on already and maybe surprise you a little bit.
I'm waiting for the day you show up to a post conference with that, and then Keldon comes out and he sees you, and then he's like, "Hey, what's going on, man? I see you there."
See how to time it perfectly. It'd have to be a win, and it'd have to be a game where Keldon would go and speak because he did well. So it might take a little bit of guessing on my part.
Well, who knows? Hopefully, it's after tonight's game versus the Cavs. By the way, more on that later, or maybe after the new year. And what a way to end this year than you and Keldon rocking a cowboy hat after hopefully a win versus the Knicks, but that's down the road. Matt, let's go and dive into it here. And I was out of town this weekend. I did not get to go to the Jazz game in San Antonio. Now, y'all know the Jazz beat the Spurs in the frost. A lot of people were just saying like, well, there you have it. You Spurs needed Fox. They needed that fourth quarter punch, his scoring and whatnot. It got me thinking, like, you know what? That's actually a good point. Not necessarily because he was absent from the game because of injury, but more of the point of, well, we finally have a nice sample size of what he can bring. Recall everybody last year, he did not play pretty much at all for the Spurs once the trade was done. Trade is done, just a few games, then he got hurt, and that's it till this season. So now we're really seeing the impact that Fox can bring. Matt, right off the bat, what do you see when you watch him play in a silver and black?
I think it's when I look at Fox, and we've talked so much this season about, the three-guard tandem and how important it's been for the Spurs this year to have really capable point guards that, they haven't necessarily had until, Castle shows up, until they trade for Fox, and then they add Harper to the mix, and it's pretty clear that all three of those guards have learned to work together and have begun to really elevate the offense. But when I look at Fox specifically, I think it's so clear, how quick he is. They don't talk about how fast he is just because, that he looks fast. Like, he proves it every single time he's on the court. It never fails to impress. But I think secondly, you can see the poise and the veteran, the experience that he brings to the table. You can watch any point guard and you can tell, okay, they're a natural point guard. You look at Fox and he's a natural point guard, but he's also got 7 or 8 years of experience in the NBA, and that definitely shows every time he has the ball. He looks very poised, very controlled. Even if his shots aren't falling, he's getting in a good spot to shoot them. He's finding his teammates. Like, it's very clear that he brings, a different level of experience to this roster. And when you have a point guard that's as capable and honestly as strong and reliable as he is, that really makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly. For me, when I watch him play, it's just the calming effect that he can bring when Victor is out, or maybe he gets in foul trouble. There's a Wemby, that is, or a little management game, or coming off the bench. when he's out there, I know the Spurs are going to be okay offensively. That's the fact that I like. And I think you can see it in the eyes and the mood and the way the team plays with him there. They feel a little more at ease to play downhill. They know they have a go-to guy. They can dump the ball off to if they're stuck in a rut. Offensively, they can dump it to him. If it's just a comfort level that he can bring to this team. And I get it. He's a pro. He's a veteran, I should say. He's been in the league for a while now, and you can see that. You can see that. Just how important he is, just to pretty much hold the fort down. And no better way to sum it up than what we saw when Victor was out for those 12 games. Once that happened, it was Fox who stepped up. It was Fox that was putting the offensive punch on his shoulders, and more on the other stuff he can bring in just in a few minutes here. But Matt, when I look at De'Aaron Fox, you could also look at the flip side of the coin, that Jazz game. In that Jazz game, sure, from maybe after the first quarter, second quarter on, they just looked out of whack. They couldn't get any shots going. The shot was just horrible. Dare I say, Matt, that if Fox had been playing, maybe the Spurs could have won? What do you think?
I think that's a fair statement. I would say so. And, it kind of goes back to that leadership, the veteran thing that we were just talking about. The biggest thing that Keldon Johnson touched on in the postgame, and I guess for those who may not have had context, he was the only spokesperson after the loss. And the thing that he harped on was that, it felt like we were tiptoeing into that game and nobody was really connected. And he basically said that they didn't deserve to win. And I believe that. You come off 2 wins against, or 3 wins, really, if you add the third one to the mix, over the defending champions. You do it at home, you do it on the road in blowout fashion, and obviously it's going to feel like you're on top of the world, like you can't be beat. And I think that's a feeling that this team hasn't really experienced. And so, they enter the game, they look out of whack, they can hit shots, they can guard the 3. So I think you're right. If you add Fox to the mix, you add not only a talent and a point guard that can help you make some shots, but you also add the calming presence, like you said earlier, somebody who says, hey guys, we are not playing the way we need to be playing. This is exactly what we expected from a Jazz team facing us. And so I think it's one of those things where there are definitely a couple ways he could have impacted that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Just offensively, the Spurs were struggling. Again, after that first period, it was kind of ugly. And it is what it is. Like, you're not going to win every game. And I think Keldon summed it up good as well. And he said, look, we realize we're not going to win every game. It happens. But for them to go out the way they went out against the Jazz, so at that time, when they won 11 games on the season, I believe. Yeah, not a good look. But I think Fox was there. Maybe could have turned the tide and maybe pushed the Spurs to a W. But it is what it is. You move on. And the other thing too that I'm liking so far, since Fox, now we got a big sample size now, is just how well he pairs with Wemby. That combo that's been proven to be a nice combo, nice 1-2 punch. It is panning out the way many have thought it would be. What do you think?
For sure. And I think that's something that every player on the Spurs has had to learn at some point. I think Popovich, he was the one who would say it quite often, is he would look at a professional NBA basketball player and say they're still learning how to play. Yeah. At first, it was kind of like, what do you mean? But then you kind of realize, like, there are things that you have to learn when you join the NBA. It's not just basketball. It's basketball at the highest level, at the highest pace, the highest level of physicality. And there's so many different things that go into, playing a game in the NBA. And I think that that's something that Fox has learned to do alongside Victor Wembanyama. And when you watch the two of them play, they know where they're at. Fox is he's obviously going to have an eye for the court as a point guard, but it almost seems like he's got a little Wemby cam on him too. Just all times going to make sure I know where that guy is, because if he's open even for a split second and I can throw it up to the rim, he's going to do it. So I think it's been cool to watch the two of them get that chemistry, because as much as people might disagree, he is the second option, and it's a Victor and Fox show in San Antonio until further notice.
Yeah, so exactly.
For them to get as much chemistry and experience together as they can, that's huge.
Yeah, and let's put a bow on this segment with this. So we're talking about the Fox Wemby combo. We finally got a good sample size. So they've played together so far this season. Again, ahead of tonight's game, the Cavs. Let's see here, 188 minutes. Okay. It's about right there. All right, let's see. So they are a plus 15.6 when they are on the court together. The offensive rating goes up to 121.9, and the defensive rating 106.9, minus 9.9 there, and the plus 5.7. So again, that's just crazy. Again, that's via Data Baller who provided us those stats there. So yeah, that Victor Fox combo definitely works. But let's play a game. Coming up next, we all know that Fox can score, right? But what's one stat that has caught Matt Guzman's eye? What's one stat that Fox has done this season has caught my eye? Let's talk about that coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. Let's talk about FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become an appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during the happy hour brings something new. You get boosts, you get bonuses, you get surprises. Easy to check on the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. It adds extra energy to Friday Night Basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't heard about this, you haven't checked out, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free radio feed for Locked On Spurs, compatible, I should say, with Apple, Spotify, every other major podcast app. You get a special all-access episodes of Locked On Spurs. You get an invite to the Locked On Everydayer Club on the Discord server. It's so much. You got to go check it out right now. I got that website here for you guys. Let me go get it for you. It is the lockedonspurs.supercast.com. There you can join the Everydayer Club. We're back. Locked On Spurs, joined by Matt Guzman because it's Monday. So of course, Matt's going to join us. He's with Spurs on Sports Illustrated. Paul Mike and Matt GZME. So talk about De'Aaron Fox and the impact he's having with the Spurs. Again, last season, this time it was cut short due to injury. Now we have a good sample size of what he's doing. We're going to play. First of all, we all know Fox can't score, right? So Matt can't be like, my favorite stat is that he can score. Well, yeah, Matt, we know that. But what other statistic has surprised us since he's joined the Spurs and now getting some good minutes, good games under his belt now, not sidelined with an injury? Matt, you're the guest here, so kick us off here. What is one stat you'd like that Fox has brought?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of a loophole here. It's not points per 40 minutes, don't worry. But when you look at, we've talked a lot about what the Spurs have needed, and one of them's been a point guard, one of them's been, backup for Victor Wembanyama in the front court. But a third thing that is really, I won't say gone under the radar because people are very aware that it's needed, has been 3-point shooting. And so, obviously that was a big pickup from Harrison Barnes. That was something that they looked for in Carter Bryant, as he continues to develop. Even adding Kelly Olynyk kind of helps bolster that number a little bit. But you look at Fox, and on his career, the best he's ever shot from three has been 36%, which is
interesting.
Even I know that's decent. Yeah, it's okay. But this season, he's at 39.6% from three. And, specifically since we're talking about stats and in the one stat that's surprising, he shoots 40.4% from three in wins. So he's not only, it's not just like he's shooting 20%, but when he shoots 80%, he's shooting right around that 40% mark anyway. And in all of the games the Spurs have won, he's shot 40% or better from three. And so I think that's definitely something that's been huge because not only can you count on him to find his teammates and to get assists and to score, at the rim as quick as he is, you can count on him from perimeter as well. And I think that's been something that stuck out to me because he's not necessarily known as this prolific shooter from three. So for him to put up these numbers has been really huge for them.
Yeah, 3-point shooting is something that, as you mentioned, like people were kind of knocking this trio of guards. Like, who's going to be shooting the threes? Castle, he kind of sucked last year. Harper, we don't know yet. He's a rookie. That three line moves out further away from the basket than in college. And Fox, he's been, I guess that's kind of been the vibe. But there you have it. He's been shooting well from the 3 line. And it seems to me, Matt, he hits them when they needed a shot.
Yes.
And that's what I like about it. He hits them when they need some sort of just punch to the opponent, just some sort of timely 3. He knocks it out. I got to agree with that. That's been kind of surprising for me. Something I think you and I need to ask him next time we talk to him at the Frost Bank Center there. For me is I didn't realize how good of a facilitator he was. That's caught me off guard. He's averaging 6.1 assists this season. And I say it's caught me off guard because I know he could score. And I know they call him Swipe of the Fox for a reason. He's a really good guy and stealing the ball. Right now he's averaging about 1.3. But I didn't realize that he really gets his teammates involved. Again, 6.1 assists per game this season. Look at the last few games he's had. He had a 9 assist game versus the Thunder in that win on December 23. Just really finding the guy, getting those, finding the shooters or cutters, wherever it is, some easy baskets. He's had a season high so far, 12 assists at Denver back on November 28th. And he's put up multiple games of multiple assists, 11 versus his old team Sacramento on November 16th, 10 versus Golden State on November 14th. So I really like how he's facilitating, finding the guys. And I like that too, because again, that tells me he can trust his teammates to knock down the shot. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. And that's half of being a point guard. Half of it is being able to score, and half of it is being able to find your teammates so they can score.
Yeah.
And so bringing him in, I mean, I'm sure that this doesn't surprise the Spurs, right? As much as it might be surprising you or I. But, like you were saying, just for him to have that in his arsenal, not only, he's not just a quick point guard, he's he's a very efficient point guard. He's a point guard that can share, a willing and able passer, and that's not something that every point guard can claim. And obviously there are some that may pass it a little bit more than he does, but found a good balance, and it's obviously working. He's, like I was saying, he's putting up almost career years all across the field, career bests all across the field shooting wise. Whatever he's doing right now is really working, and the Spurs, sitting at the second in the West, are clearly benefiting from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's been everything that the Spurs had hoped he can be. They gave him that extension this past offseason. That was a lot of money, and he's definitely earning it. And I love also 2 other things that are outside of the court is how well he is with media, and he talks with us. Even if we ask a stupid question, he still rolls with it, Matt. Really, really nice with the media. And he just seems like eager to talk. He's always just happy about being in San Antonio, that he's happy that he's joining the team, he's seeing the success. He's repeated that. I believe, Matt, right? He's been saying like how happy he is since he's joined San Antonio, right?
Yeah. He had that interview with Mark Spears talking about the grass being greener. He didn't go too much into that, but I mean, it's clear that he's enjoying his situation. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a point guard playing with Victor Wembanyama? But it adds to the fact that, there have been point guards who played with Victor and only gotten 34 wins, 22 wins, so this season for them to have surpassed that and well on pace to get to 50 wins this season, I'm sure he is loving it.
Yeah. Man, it's funny. Earlier you said that you're going to do a loophole and go like what true shooting percentage or something like that, or per 48 or 38. You said, I'm going to use a loophole right now. One thing that I didn't realize that is beyond just scoring is he's pretty good at and ones. So I looked at some of his stats here when it comes to the and one percentage. So he ranks in the 68th percentile among all other guards, according to Cleaning the Glass. All right. So what does that mean? Well, that means he's a better and one scorer than a guy like Luka Doncic. Yes, he ranks above Luka Doncic at 27.7% and one percentage for the Lakers guy there. Just ahead of him, which is other guys like LaMelo Ball is just ahead of him at 31%. Quickly in Toronto, 29%. Jalen Brunson, 10 overall at 31. So he ranks number 13. That is Fox, in case you keep your score there, in and one percentage. And so those little intangibles, I think that make Fox such a threat for the Spurs, such a offensive weapon. Whether it's facilitating, hitting the three, as Matt highlighted, the and one percentage, he's all that. He's all that. And by the way, he's still being swiped by the Fox. He's still getting his steal. Let's see how many steals he's averaging this season. He's averaging about 1.3 this season. Interesting. He averages 1.8 during home games. So he really ups it close to 2 there. So yeah, such a dynamic player, such a key for the Spurs moving forward. I get why the Spurs paid a lot of money to have him join the Spurs. Yeah, so Fox, we got a good sample size of what he's bringing, and I think we can safely say we like it. All right, coming up next, we're going to look at tonight's game, Spurs-Cavs. Can the Spurs get back on the winning track after that loss to Jazz? We're going to talk about that coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Matt Guzman, because it's Monday, of course. It's Monday. Matt right here on the show. Make sure to follow my next at MattGZMAN. Matt, the Spurs and Cavs, they tangled tonight. The last meeting of the season. The Cavs were up 1-0 on the Spurs during the regular season matchups, and the Spurs are coming off I can't believe I'm saying it, a loss at home to the Utah Jazz. Yeah, it was not a pretty one as well. It was not a pretty one. Matt, I was out of town this weekend, couldn't make it. How bad was it there at the Frost?
It's interesting, right? Because it wasn't demoralizing. It wasn't demoralizing. They were losing and trying to come back and like they did it. And on the way to tying the game, you had a Victor Wembanyama poster, you had a Dylan Harper poster.
Yeah,
I mean, it was. There's no other way to say it. I mean, the arena was hopping. The arena was really excited, and then it kind of just the rug came out from under it right at the bottom. So
yeah,
I think fans are going to be pretty. They're going to be hungry for a win, and so I think that they're going to come out in spades again. But it wasn't. It was hard to watch.
Yeah,
and lie.
Yeah, I was watching it again. I was out of town. I was watching it on the laptop there, and I was looking at it. I was like, "Oh my god, what just?" It just felt like they went from having a phenomenal first period to like, okay, I guess they just want to take it easy now and let the Jazz. I guess want to give the fans their money's worth. They get an exciting game, but no, they can't do that. Moving forward, they got a formidable opponent, the Cavs tonight. Again, as I mentioned, they have beaten the Spurs this season. The Cavaliers are 17-16 on the season, while your Spurs are 23-8. And let's get into it here. So, Matt, I got a few keys to victory here. I'll put them on the screen here. I'll get your shot. Defend the 3-shot. Of course, I'm still living in the moment against that Jazz team. That Jazz team was just cooking from the 3 line. And it's not necessarily the Jazz that did it as well. We've seen this pop up in a bad way for the Spurs. The Hawks got hot from the 3 line. The Jazz got hot from the 3 line. The Warriors got hot from the 3 line. Individual players get hot from the 3 line. I don't want it to be a pattern, and hopefully the Spurs can slow down the 3-point shooting from the Cavs tonight. Also, the Mitchell-Garland combo. And I bring this up, Matt, because check this out. Going into tonight's game, Darius Garland has scored in double figures in 9 straight games. Oh, but it gets better for the Spurs defense. The Cavs, Donovan Mitchell, has recorded 17 games of 30 or more points this season. And finally, an under-the-radar Spur killer, Evan Mobley. All right, so just how bad is it for the Spurs when it comes to Mobley? In 7 career games versus the Spurs, Matt, did you know he's 6-1 against the Spurs? Did you know that he averages 19.3 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 1.4 blocks per game, and has recorded 5 double-doubles in 7 of those games, pretty much in all the games that he's played, the career games. In every single game, he averages a double-double. Oh, by the way, he's also shooting about 58%. He seems to love playing against the silver and black, Matt. Your thoughts?
There are just some teams who, really enjoy it. Like, yeah, I suppose that's one of those things that, I mean, you and I saw it too. I think in Austin against the Pistons, there was a player on the Pistons who just always seemed to have it.
Jalen Duren.
Yes. And it's one of those things where just, some players are just really on some certain nights. I'll never quite understand it. But I mean, given that, obviously, yeah, the Spurs are going to have to watch him and keep him from getting comfortable.
Now, Keldon Johnson set the bar high heading into tonight's game. He made it very, very clear after the loss versus Utah that they're coming in at the better standard. These guys, we keep saying, like, we got to hold ourselves to higher standards, and I have no doubt we'll do this versus the Cavs. Well, tonight, Keldon and the rest of the crew there, time to put your money where the mouth is. Matt, what are some of your keys to tonight's game?
I'm glad you asked because it's actually quite ridiculous. There's going to be one very, very, very specific factor in this game, and it's the fact that Victor is going to play. And I say that because, I mean, no, duh, right? They're going to be better when Victor's on the floor. But it's crazy. The Cavs scored 80 points in the paint the last time that they faced the Spurs without Victor, who was still signing his left calf strain. They shot worse from the three-point line than the Spurs did, but they got everything they wanted down low. And so, obviously having Victor is going to help their offense, but they are not scoring 80 points in the paint against the Wembanyama-led defense. And, that was absolutely the difference maker in the last game. It's almost laughable. Like, what do you mean the Spurs let up 80 points in the paint? Well, was Victor? Oh, well, he wasn't. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That makes sense. And so, that's going to be the big difference maker as long as he can, be normal. He doesn't even have to do it
be normal
over the top. He just has to exist, and that number will dramatically decrease. And like you're saying, if the team kind of comes out hungry and firing and they're hitting their shots, you're going to be great. And you're going to have a different outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, also too, did you know, everybody, the Cavs have won 6 straight games overall against the Spurs, and they won the last 2 meetings in San Antonio. So Spurs, you got your work cut out for you tonight. Hopefully you come in with that chip on your shoulder, as Keldon almost guaranteed that they would be, and get a W tonight and no losing streak, because if they lose tonight, they'll tie. This is crazy, everybody. When was the last time you heard me say this? They'll tie their longest losing skid of the season at 2. Whoa, no, not that. 2. But that's awesome. I just show you how well the Spurs are playing this season. All right, those are some of the keys to a Spurs win tonight. Hopefully the Spurs do that. I believe Matt and I will be at the game tonight. So then make sure to follow him on X at MattGZMN. Follow me on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone for any updates from the Frost. Matt, tell us what's going on with Spurs on Sports Illustrated.
Well, just preparing for not only the Cavs, but a NBA Cup final rematch on New Year's Eve.
Oh, yeah.
Hoping to have, or I will have coverage from that game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully I'll be there in case I say this, Matt. I'll go to the New Year's Eve party first, then I'll go to the game. See, I think that'll be a bad mix there. Bad. Now we'll get the text from me. I ain't coming. I'm stuck at a party. Oh, no, not that. Matt, as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your business to join us here every Monday right here on Locked On Spurs. Everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. If you're in the Villa, wherever we get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kens 5 Plus app, YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow as the NBA season continues, and get Spurs talk about. And Matt mentioned, the next game is ahead, the New Year is ahead. Fun times for the Spurs, and we'll get you covered right here on Locked On Spurs. Once again, don't forget to check out the NBA Everydayer Club. Just go to Locked On Podcast Network. Just Google it. You can't miss it there. It'll literally say Everydayer Club. Click on that. Sign up right now. So for Matt Guzman, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.